There's no shortage of mysteries out there, so from an unsolved murder to a neurological condition being cured by the weather, here we have 5 unsolved mysteries. On Wednesday the 7th of October 1992, Rianna Burro, aged 12, went missing from her home address at Wakefield Avenue. She was at home alone on school holidays when she disappeared. Little was known about her movements on that day. Rianna lived at home with her mother and brother who were away at the time of her disappearance. On the day of her disappearance, Rianna was at home and intended to walk to the nearby Southgate shopping centre to purchase a Christmas card for her then pen pal. She was last seen walking away from her home at about 10:30 AM that morning. A Christmas card was located in the home on the return of Rianna's mother at about 4:10 in the afternoon. Rianna was not home and has not been seen since. Her personal belongings were inside the house. In 2015, a police officer attempting to solve the now decades-old case offered up a reward of $1 million to anyone who had credible information on Rianna's disappearance. Nothing came of that either. After all these years, Mrs. Barreau still lives in the same house, hoping that one day her daughter might return. On December the 11th, 1995 at 3:30 AM, fire units raced to a blaze in the Georgetown section of Washington, D.C. Once inside, firefighters discovered that the fire was restricted to the upstairs bedroom. In fact, the bed itself was on fire. At first it looked like no one was home, but as the smoke cleared, firefighters were stunned to see a woman in the bed. She was barely alive. 38-year-old Lynn Armas was a financial analyst who had lived in Washington for just 5 months. She was rushed to a local hospital with third-degree burns over 80% of her body. At first, investigators believed it was an accident. Lynn's blood alcohol content was 0.25, which was 2.5 times the legal limit for driving in Washington, D.C. That and the fact they found a cigarette butt seemed to indicate that Lynn Armas had been smoking in bed, but Lynn's friend Emily Smith didn't believe it. The police had to rethink their initial theory when insurance investigators found accelerants on the mattresses, floor and pillows. According to Lynn's mother, they concluded that the fire had been deliberately set. Lynn Armas clung to life, barely conscious and unable to speak. 10 days later, on December the 21st, 1995, she died. The cause of death was officially listed as homicide, but who would want Lynn dead and why? She was a friendly and outgoing person with no known enemies, but Lynn apparently did have her secrets. In the weeks before she died, she had suddenly stopped talking to her friends about her job. Soon a motive for Lynn's murder began to emerge. Lynn had moved to Washington to take a position with a management consulting firm. As part of her job, she made frequent trips to Mexico to assess the lending practices of several large banks. Less than a month before the fire, Lynn had lunch with a close friend, Emily Smith. According to Emily, Lynn seemed reluctant to talk about work. Emily said that Lynn told her that she'd uncovered some questionable lending practices. On December the 10th, the day before the fire, Lynn once again hinted to friends that she'd uncovered some potentially explosive information. The last time anyone spoke to Lynn was late on the night of the fire. Lynn's mother said she was told that the fire looked like a professional job. Lynn's friends and family believe that sometime after midnight the killer broke into the house. There were no signs of forced entry, so they may have had a key. Or maybe Lynn knew her assailant. Some believe that the intruder may have forced Lynn to drink until she passed out. To achieve the level of alcohol that she was found with, it takes between 9 and 14 drinks in an hour for a woman of her size, which is almost impossible to consume. Lynn never completed her report on the Mexican banks. Her former employee declined to appear on camera and comment. During a thunderstorm on August the 17th, 1994, 44-year-old Oklahoma City resident and MS patient Mary Clamser stepped into a bathtub and was struck by lightning. Incredibly, the lightning strike put Mary's MS into remission, and within just a year she was able to walk again. No one has any idea how Mary's MS was cured through lightning, but she believes that it was a miracle. Interestingly, on April the 19th, 1995, Mary cancelled an appointment at the Oklahoma City Federal Building to do an interview about the miracle in LA. The Oklahoma City bombing occurred that day. On April the 6th, 1986, a farmer in Oklahoma discovered a body inside a flaming car on a bridge. The car belonged to a man named Pat Conway, and the body was soon identified as his wife Aileen. Authorities believe that she had died in a tragic accident, but Pat found convincing evidence that she was murdered. On the day of her death, the screen door in the back was left open. Her purse was left behind, the iron was left on, the garden hose was filling water in the pool, and in the bathroom the tub was filled with water and the phone was left off the hook. Also, Pat found the road where Aileen died was unfamiliar. Neither of them had ever been there before her death. He contacted investigator Ray Anderson, and the next day they went to the site where the car had crashed. Anderson believed that Aileen was with someone in the car, and that person set the accelerator, slammed it into drive, hoping to send the car into the creek and making it look like an accident. The cause of death was changed from accident to unexplained. Burn tests showed that the car had been doused with a substance similar to gasoline. To this day, nobody knows why Aileen died. Molly Bish was a Detroit, Michigan native, but her family moved to Massachusetts. 15 years later, she had a job as a lifeguard at Commons Pond in Warren, but on June 27, 2000, she vanished almost 8 minutes after being dropped off by her mother, Maggie. Her belongings were left behind and a thorough search was made with no success. After her disappearance, her family created a website to try and publicise the case. Maggie now believes that she'd come face to face with Molly's abductor the day before her disappearance. In 2001, artist Gene Boylan helped her make a composite of him. When it was finished, Maggie felt that it was accurate. Maggie was certain that it was identical to the man she had seen. Despite it, no trace of Molly or her abductor had been found. The day before Molly vanished, Maggie had taken her to the pond for work, where she noticed a man parked at the lake and smoking a cigarette in a late model white car. She escorted Molly down to her post, but when she returned to the car, the man was still there. She waited in her car for several minutes until he finally left. The day Molly vanished, however, he was not parked there when Maggie dropped her off. A sand truck driver reported seeing him parked in the pond's parking lot just minutes before Maggie and Molly arrived that day. A worker noticed a similar car parked at a nearby cemetery connected to the pond by a path. A sketch of him was made and circulated, but no identification has been made. He has brown hair, dark eyes, and was approximately 50 years old at the time of Molly's disappearance. The case is still unsolved. So that was 5 unsolved mysteries. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more countdown videos.